Hi, I'm Greg. Welcome to 3D Make It. You've made it this far, you've assembled your printer, you want to get printing, but wait, we need to level it. Let's get going on that right now.
So today we have an Ender 3 V2 and we're going to look at leveling it and the steps you need to do before you plug it in and turn it on. It's very important to do these steps because the last thing you want to do is crash your print head into your glass bed and maybe break it. So we're going to take a close look up at the printer and we're going to start with the end stop and go from there. First up, we're going to make sure that the end stop is tight and the little nub here is flush with the extrusion. We want to make sure it's flush so that when it homes, it's in the right position. Now, we're going to just take a look at the bed here. We want to make sure that the gantry is lowered, the nozzle doesn't smash into the bed. Now that we've looked at the switch, we're going to take a good look at the bed leveling knobs. When the printer comes in shipping, with all the vibrations and rattling around, the leveling knobs can become loose in shipping, and the distance between the gantry and the bed can be off quite a bit. So we're going to tighten them down so that the nozzle doesn't impact into the bed before we leveled it. Now I'm going to just turn the lead screw and lower the head manually by hand, again with the power off, just so that the nozzle and the switch engage. You see the switch is engaged, but it's still a little high, so we'll just turn it down a little bit more. So now that we've got the nozzle down to the bed and we've made a bit of a gap, we're going to take a piece of paper and we're going to slide it under the nozzle. This is just a regular piece of paper, and we're going to line up the nozzle and the center of the wheel and the screw so that we can adjust everything nicely. Now keep in mind that this is a thin piece of paper. You want to get it under the nozzle. As you make turns forward and back, up and down with the wheels, it'll raise and lower the bed. You want just enough friction to pull on the paper, but you don't want to tear the paper. Now, we don't want too little friction that the paper just slides easily in and out. It needs to go in and out, but there should be some friction when you pull on it. So just adjust it accordingly, get it so that you can feel the drag on it. You might even hear a little bit of drag, but just you don't want it too loose. It takes a couple adjustments to get it just right. Now we'll move to the front corner of the bed, again right over the screw. We'll again stick our paper in. If we can't get it in, we're going to lower the bed a bit, and then we're going to raise it up. We're going to adjust it again until we get that friction. Again, we don't have the printer plugged in. We are just doing a cold level to make sure that we're not going to damage it when we home the printer, when we do finally turn on the printer. So you want just enough friction again, and now we'll move to the other side. We'll slide over to the other side. Again, we want to make sure that we're lining it up with the other screw. If you're sliding it over and it's a little too high, make sure you lower it. You don't want to scratch your nice new bed. Again, take your paper, and we'll just make sure that there's enough friction. It takes a few times to get used to how much tension is needed on the nozzle, but take your time. Again, just a regular piece of paper, slowly back and forth, get just enough tension, but not too much to tear the paper. And we'll slide now to the back corner of the bed and make sure that if there's not enough room, we give us some room and adjust it some more. We'll have to repeat this process one more time after we get this back corner in, because we want to make sure that our adjustments don't take the other corners out of level. So we make a full round and then we do a second round once that one's done, and it'll be just minor tweaks to make sure that nothing is askew, because once you get it nice and parallel with your printing gantry, because leveling is kind of a misnomer, you're actually squaring the gantry and the bed so that they're both parallel. This one will need just a little bit more of a tweak to make it good. Oh, and now we can move to the front corner, see how good we're doing, and we're getting closer with each adjustment. As you can see, the second time around, you're much closer to where you need to be, so it goes a lot quicker. And might just be a minor tweak. We'll go a little bit more there, and the friction's good. So now we'll go to the middle of the bed, and we'll try it in the middle and make sure that we can get in and its friction is good, and we are done this portion of leveling. Okay, that wasn't so hard. You've got your bed roughly level now. It's pretty good, but we still need to home the printer and get it the last level at temperature. So the first thing we're going to do is plug in the printer, and we're going to turn it on and fire it up, and we'll go through the menu on the screen. So once we do that, you'll have a good idea of what the menus are, how to use them, and then we'll warm it up and finish the level.
Okay, I'm just going to raise up the nozzle a little bit before we turn it on. Now I'm going to hit the power. And it's booting up here. Sorry about the glare. So if we turn our knob, we can move around the screen. We're going to go to prepare, and we're going to highlight auto home.
Now we'll just watch on the screen. It says do not touch anything while it homes. It'll do its homing sequence. Everything looks good. It'll now go down to the bottom and engage the switch. Now that the switch is engaged, we can go and choose disable steppers, and we'll preheat to PLA, and it's now warming up to temperature. Once it's warmed up to temperature, we will then go and get everything leveled on a nice hot bed. Now the bed is warm, but you can still touch it, and the steppers are disabled, so we're going to be able to move the bed around. Again, take your piece of paper, and we'll repeat the same process we did on the cold bed and adjust it if need be. And you'll notice, because of the different materials and now it's at the printing temperature, it is a little bit off. Now that's okay. We'll just slowly repeat the steps that we did earlier and adjust everything, and again move all around the points to make sure everything's good. So now we'll do the other side, And you can see we're just sliding in and out to making sure that the friction is good. We shouldn't have to adjust it too much because we had it pretty close before, but again, with the different materials and the temperature, things will change, and that's why we need to heat it up to printing temperature before we actually do the final level. We'll go around to the back corner. It's a little bit better. Now again, we'll stick the paper underneath. If it slides in too easily, it's too close. If you can't get it in, again, adjust your knob to raise and lower your bed slowly. Just take your time. We're not in a rush. If you take your time now, you'll have really great results later when we start our print. It's looking pretty close. I think we'll move on to the other side. Again, make sure it's over the screw in the corners. Adjust it. It's looking good. Just there. Again, always make 2 passes or more if you need them, if they're just not quite right. And go again to the front of the bed and check how. Once it's close, the last round, it's just double checking, and it should go fairly quickly because we should be very close to level now. It's looking pretty good. And now we'll go to the center, and hey, I believe done. So it looks pretty good. Our tension is good. Now, the whole point of leveling the bed is to make our bed parallel with our X gantry. If our bed is not parallel with our gantry, some of the material will not stick in some parts of the bed, and you won't have a very nice print, or your print could come fully away from the bed while you're printing, and then that could be disastrous. So looks good. So that wasn't that difficult. We went around once cold, made sure everything was good, turned on the power, auto homed, and then went around at temperature. If you do this, you don't have to do it every single time. There are ways to improve your printing so that you don't have to manually level it all the time. There's auto bed levelers and accessories. But if you get a good level on your bed manually, you don't need all the fancy levelers and whatnot. They are very handy, and I have them on all my printers, but it's not necessary. You can have excellent quality prints just with manual bed leveling. And as you can see, the process isn't very complicated. Yes, it takes a little bit of time, but you take that extra time at the beginning and you'll have great prints in the end. Well, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. Enjoy your new printer, and we'll see you next time.